Maseches Bava Kama daf kuf beis amud beis. Elo Amar Abai, the shiurs lo nishmas of Imor Menachem ben Akiva, Ruth bas Shalom, Soro bas Moshe, lo nishmas, ule refuas, Ayala bas Estofuma, my daughter, and Rivka bas Yudis, Yudis bas Rivka, Shmuel Avon ben Yudis, Soro bas Nechomo. Elam Abaye says Abaye the follows. We had a brisa in the wide line, and we're not repeating the brisa. And Abaye explains the brisa like that. Hachikoma. Alokeach sod b'shem chaveroi. Potentially, the name of the friend is a good friend called Resh Galusa, which means I want to buy a field. I am a regular guy, regular doormat, pushover, and what? And I'm scared if the name of the field, the shtar, will say my name, Chaim Yankel, other people may take advantage and will say, no, it's really ours. They're going to come and claim and do shtick and take me to BSD, maybe this, maybe that. So what do I want to do? B'shem chaveroi, let's say my friend, not really my friend, is Resh Galusa, and I want the shtar, the actual, what we call in Israel, the tabu, the shtar, have the name Resh Galusa written as if the field belongs to Resh Galusa. If everybody goes online to tabu.co.il, I don't know where, and they see that this field and this and that plot belongs to Resh Galusa. Oh, Resh Galusa. Nobody messes up with Resh Galusa. And that's what I want. Now, en koifin esamoicher limkor kuf gimel amud aleph, starting today's page. En koifin esamoicher limkor zimna achrisi. We don't force the seller to actually write another shtar, another time for me with my name. I want to enjoy the best of both worlds. What's my story? On one hand, I want the field to be registered under Resh Galusa or to have the shtar written by the seller who writes the shtar to Resh Galusa, even though he knows, by the way, we already decided that everybody knows the story. There are 4 people involved, the seller, the buyer, and the 2 Eidim. And everybody knows that Chaim Yankel, the regular guy, he's the one that actually buys, but everybody knows that he wants to do shtick and write it as if he gets a shtar, and that's what he has to begin with. I want in the shtar, you should write Resh Galusa, so everybody knows it's Resh Galusa. Or other Rishonim explain, this is not Resh Galusa, it's just a different friend. It's somebody called Yerachmiel, Yechiel, Shmumiel, somebody. Why? Because I don't want people to think I'm rich. Chas v'shalom, people will fundraise for me. People will snore for me. Chas v'shalom, Rachmana litzlon. Or people will think that I'm rich. People will demand things from me. I don't want people to know that it's my field, and I want that field to be written under another person, someone XYZ. On the other hand, of course, that's a big risk. And that's exactly what happens today in the state of Israel. People write the apartment, the name of the children, for tax reasons. Let's say the child and the parent are not in such great... what's the son going to do? My house? The son, that parent bought for 3 million shekels an apartment in the Shemesh. For tax reasons, he registered under his 19-year-old son, Mr. Sunny Boy. And that's just a formality. Sunny Boy at some point realizes, hey, wait a second, I'm actually an owner of an apartment, or maybe it's a flat, and I'm going to live there, kick out my parents, because and he'd be right, by the letter, not really right, by the letter of the law. So now that person, our friend Chaim Yankel, wants to avoid that. What does he want? He wants to have afterwards a second shtar written on his name, both. So now the entire world will see Resh Galusa, they would stave them off. Nobody will dare touch his apartment. You touch my apartment, and Resh Galusa will kill you. I'll kill you. Mashenkin, he also doesn't want Resh Galusa to come and claim that it's his, and therefore he wants the Moicher to write to him that this belongs to Chaim Yankel. So we did not force the Moicher to play that double game. The Moicher says, I don't want to have that funny record that I'm a funny, fishy guy, that I write 2 names in one apartment. I'm not inventing it. I didn't do it at night. It's a Shita Mukubetza says that, and therefore I don't like it now. However, says the Seifa, second line, V'im Amaloi Almenas, but if he made it a condition to begin with, hello, my name is Chaim Yankel, do you have a nice apartment for sale in Ramah 15-8? And of course, very nice. Right from the beginning, he made a condition and he said, listen, Mr. Nadlan guy seller, Mr. Nice, real estate, to begin with, make a condition. I want 2 shtars. That's how I work. Shtar on Resh Galusa's name, and shtar on my name. So Resh Galusa will never have claims against me. If you made a condition to begin with, then we based in force the seller to write another shtar because that's what they made the condition on. Now the question is, that's the end of the brisa as explained by Abaye. Now we have to understand it. What's going on over here? There are 2 questions. Now the Amoyroim are going to explain the brisa. A person who buys a field and using his friend Resh Galusa or not as what we say in Hebrew, a straw man, a fake owner, and then the moichel, we cannot force him later on. Meaning, if it was not a condition to begin with, the sale is over, mazel tov, shaking hands, drinking l'chaim, all very nice. And then 5 minutes later, the sale is over. I say, hey, wait a minute. You know what? I'm actually concerned. No, actually, I'm scared. Stupid me. Resh Galusa or my 18 years old son, maybe they'll turn against me. It's written on them. I'll really mind. So please write me another shtar. The Mercher says, no, I'm not writing another shtar. We don't force him. Of course we don't force him. Avada to force a person to write a second shtar if this was never mentioned and was never a condition. Obviously not. What's the chiddush b'chlal? What's the novelty here? Answers the Gemara. One would have thought, Matzi Omerle, the buyer may have been able to tell the seller, Main the Yodat, you know very well, and I was open with you at the beginning. You can call me a liar that I write it under my 18 years old, although the entire world does it. But you knew very well the ano me lenafshoy shakilna. I was open with you. I came clean, honey, and I told you lenafshoy shakilna that I'm buying it for myself with my hard-earned 3.5 million shekels. Bupanchia, that's a very rare word in the Gemara. Panchia be'al mahud kabaina. That shtar to be written on Resh Galusa's name is just a panchia. Panchia is security. It's a very rare word. Yeah, only appears, I think, twice in Shas, I think. Yeah, I only wanted it for extra security, so it should look good. So nobody, I'm working out of despair. I'm a weak guy, regular guy. I know there are people always out there take me to Beis Din. I don't know who else, my ex-boss, my ex-thing. And I want Resh Galusa as a cover story. The Zuzi Bechdi Loy Shadina. And I don't throw, Shadina is to throw, I throw. I don't throw money to the garbage, right? Ela daita the cost of Leishtora Achrina. Obviously, isn't it obvious to you? Don't come to me now with your big eyes and say, what? Another shtar? Why should I write another shtar? Like, hello? Don't you realize it? Isn't it clear? Needless to be said that I need another shtar and I don't need Resh Galusa to take it away from me. Otherwise, I'm throwing money down the drain. 3.5 million shekel. I'm throwing down the garbage, down the drain. Why? Because Lamaisa, Resh Galusa can come any day and he's a strong guy, or my son, or the other person, and what? And will take the karka for me because it's written on them. Isn't it clear I need another shtar? Do I even have to say to you? Maybe that's what he could have told him, the buyer to the seller. No, says the brisa. Comes the brisa to tell us nishtazoi. The Omar lay, the seller can tell the buyer, Inyana avdilach ba'adi ahu dezobent le b'shmei. You should make an inyan, says Rashi, condition with, you should do it with the one that you use as a straw man. It's none of my business. You took Resh Galusa, or you took your cousin who's a strong guy, the head of the something. So you deal with them. Of course, I know you need another shtar. He should write you another shtar, but he has no claims against you. You're coming here with your 18 years old son. You guys should deal between yourselves. And that person who's a potential threat on you because your land is written under his name, he should write you another shtar. Of course, I know it's a basic need. Who says, I have to supply you with that basic need? Who said it's my responsibility, says the seller. You're making shtick. Please remember what you're doing here, mister. Maybe it's a kosher shtick, but it's a shtick. So therefore, you coming here and saying, please write the shtar under whoever, under Mr. Strong Guy, Mr. Choshuva, and what? So beseder. I know it's important for you to also have it written under your name. Go to Mr. Choshuv and get an information from him that he will never claim against you, and he's kilo giving it to you. Who says that it's my job? Says the seller. And the seller is right. I'll answer you. I'm opening to questions in the next piece. You know what? No, I'll answer you now. Yes. What are you asking? Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. To the real man. Frontman is a straw man? No. The first shtar was written to a fake person. But it's really given to the real guy. Weiter. Now continues to the second case of the Brisa. Dim Omer Loi. Line starts with Omer Loi. Kuf Gimel Amud Aleph. We are 10 or so lines from the top. Dim Omer Loi El Menas. If Chaim Yankel comes and tells the seller, Mr. Seller, right from the start, I told Shulchan Aruch, right from the start, I'm telling you, yeah, I want 2 shtars. Call me shtikmacher, whatever. I want Resh Galusa shtar to look good and look strong, and I want to shtar in my name, so Resh Galusa will not come knocking on my door. Then, if it's a condition, koifin esamaycher limko. Then we force the seller to sell again, so to speak, to write another shtar. Pshita. That, excuse me, sounds like a children's nursery. Of course, if you promise, you have to keep your promises. Obviously, if there's a condition, you have to follow the condition. What's the chiddush? The Gemara has to tell me that. You promise a child a candy, give him a candy. What's the chiddush? Answers the Gemara, whopping chiddush. Loi, tzricha. Oh, we need a chiddush. What's the chiddush? The Amalu, the story was not that the condition was so clear. You know what the guy did? The guy was a bit diplomatic. The buyer, spoke in a little bit of, in hinting and allusions. Amalu lesahadi. The person, the buyer, did not speak to the seller. He spoke to the Eidim, and you have to remember, people, we learned in Bava Basra at the end, that was a chiddush for me, because we saw, remember, books and books of real-life shtars from Prague from many years ago. We did the whole thing. Those who actually run the shtar are the Eidim. The Eidim are not 2 people like the guy who stand in the side and nod their head and see what's going on. The Eidim of the shtar are the makers of the shtar. They are the ones who actually make it happen, and they are employed by the moicher and the koine. But the Eidim are the ones making it. He's talking to who? To the Sahadi, to the Eidim. Who is he? The buyer. Kamei didei. But he made sure that he talks to them in front of who? In front of the seller, and he talks to them while he's listening. Chazu, look, look, I need another shtar. I'm telling you, people, the 2 Eidim, Binyamin and Yosef, I'm telling you, I need another shtar. But he's saying it in front of who? In front of the seller. Is the seller socially aware? One would have thought, Matzi Omalei, the moicher can tell the buyer, the seller can tell the buyer, I know that you want another shtar. I thought you're talking to the Eidim, and you said, I need another shtar. Maybe another shtar means I want you people, Eidim, Binyamin and Yosef, to go with me to Resh Galusa, and Resh Galusa should write me a shtar. Because he did not talk directly to the seller. Kamash Malan, says the Gemara, no, Mr. Seller, you have to be a little bit socially aware and be aware of what's going on. The Omer Lei, the buyer, tells the seller, that's why I went the extra mile, the tircha, and I said it to the Edim in front of you. If I want the Edim to do jobs for me, you don't have to be present. Why did I tell them in front of you? I wanted to hint to you, the minachu de kabaina. That's why I dafka said it to the Eidim while you were present, and I said to the Eidim, hi Eidim, you are the ones who write the shtar. You're the ones who use the ink. They're the ones who physically wrote the shtar. You know that? The Eidim wrote the shtar. The Eidim wrote, we, Shimon and Binyamin and Yosef, we were in Shnat this, and we saw him selling him the shtar. I want you to write another shtar. And I was like, you were present, and dafka in front of your eyes, I said it. Mashma, I want you to write it. And that's a chiddush. Even though he didn't make a very clear condition, but because he said it to the Eidim in the presence of the Moicher, we expect the Moicher who knew right from the start that another shtar is required, that the Moicher should sell it, should write the other shtar. Let's summarize. Let's make a blessing.
and on condition, and they forced the buyer to put his signature on the star.
Seller.
But the seller, sorry.
Very good. Okay. Now comes the new Gemara, still to do with the idea of Bnei Ma'arova. Let's summarize. Basically, there is one common denominator through the entire Gemara till the Mishnah, and that is the story of Bnei Ma'arova. Remember Bnei Ma'arova? What did they say? They said as follows: when I am the moicher, and soon we'll see even a koine, very interesting. When I'm a side in a deal, 1 second, please. When I'm a side in a deal, yeah, and I buy something for my wife, and I buy something from Yitzchak, my good friend, for my wife, tea. I buy tea from my wife from you. You don't know that I'm representing my wife, nachon? And Yitzchak thinks that I'm the owner of the tea, and I didn't tell him it's from my wife. Is now my wife the owner right when it's in my hands right now? Yes or no? Say Bnei Ma'arova? No. Bnei Ma'arova believed that the seller, because he's a very crucial person here, has to know of the shlichus. Shlichus does not work automatically vis-a-vis the other party. So even though my wife sent me to buy and made me a shliach to buy her tea, and then my arm is like her long arm, keilu, we say no. We say that Yitzchak has to know that I'm representing her. I don't know what halacha l'maaseh didn't see so clear. The other opinions say no. The other opinion says no. Yitzchak is selling you to whoever is the owner. He's saying, I'm not getting involved with your internal politics. And if my wife made me a shliach, I'm automatically like her. When Yitzchak puts it in my hand and do akba, it's automatically hers, without Yitzchak knowing and not knowing Yitzchak is being a very good seller. Now comes another story to emphasize this. Rav Kahana. This story has to do with what we spoke about, and also involves the terrible issur of ribbis, interest. Rav Kahana, that's a real story, real life story from the Talmud. Rav Kahana Yoav Zuza Akitna. Rav Kahana gave money, was very trusting of these people. Rav Kahana gave money, cash in advance, to people who sold kitna. Kitna is not cotton. Kitna many times means flax. He wanted to buy some pieces of flax. We all buy flax every day, right? So Rav Kahana also bought some stocks of flax, and he paid up front. Now listen carefully. It's very important to know what Tosfos says, that at this point, the Gemara thinks that he actually did Mashicha. He did a kinyan. He made a kinyan. He pulled the pishtan, yeah, a little bit, daladamas, machloikes. He pulled, yeah, the kitna, and it's his kitna. It's absolutely, fabulously, exclusively his flax, his kitna. And he said, listen, guys, I got to go to learn. I got to do my stuff. Keep it here. Keep the kitna over here in your store, and just keep it in storage for me, like people do with shops, right? Keep it in your machsan for me. All very nice. And the people nodded nicely and said, yes, sir. Listen to what happened. L'soif ayaka kitna. Lucky for him, that kitna, which was worth 400 shekels, all of a sudden boomed into 800 shekels. Yeah, so it's his kitna, basically not guarded. The shomer kept by them for him, and they're like a shomer. And now it became 800. That's so nice. You know, they did, those people zabnei mavasa the kitna. They sold it. So nice. They sold the kitna to other people. Now we have to use names. What do you think would be a nice name for the kitna owner, which is not the owner anymore, which is really the shomer? He's guarding the kitna for Rav Kahana, and his name, of course, is very original, Reuven, most original name in the world. Yeah, and now Reuven sold it to Shimon. Don't make faces at Reuven. Reuven is a nice guy. You know what Reuven did? Reuven now, the 800 shekels that he made by selling Rav Kahana's kitna, listen carefully, without asking Rav Kahana. Without asking Rav Kahana, he sold Rav Kahana's kitna. You know what he does with 800? He gave it to Rav Kahana. You think I'm not an honest guy? I'm working as your agent without asking you. You know these people, they work on your behalf without you wanting. They always, one-up you. So now they sold it on his behalf without asking him. Nice profit. Instead of 4, now it's 8. And now with a big smile on the face, they're giving him, instead of the kitna that he needed to use tomorrow morning for his wife's jacket, now he has 800 shekels, and they think that they did the nicest thing in the world. Okay, so now the question is, what do you do? Also, the Rav. Rav was Rav Kahana's Rebbe, many cases in Shas. Rav Kahana came to Rav. Omerlei, my Avid, what shall I do? Ezil Eshkil Zuzai, can I take this money? Why not, people? Why not? Well, he's not saying, shall I slap him in the face? He's asking, shall I take the money? What could potentially be a problem for Rav Kahana to take the money? He starts with an R. No, the race. Ribbis. You people are all geniuses, all of you in the room. Maybe it looks like ribbis. Well, lots, slowly. Okay. Well, clearly this is not ribbis mamish. It's not alone. It was not a ribbis daraisa that was pre-planned. However, it smells like ribbis. People walk down the street and are half knowledgeable about this story. You know what they're going to say? Rav Kahana is a big rabbi, and I saw him giving 400 shekels to Reuven, and 2 months later he came out with 800 shekels, and I knew it had to do the same thing, something with cotton. Oh, so I know Rav Kahana is taking ribbis. Either they'll say Rav Kahana is a liar and taking ribbis and put it all over Facebook and Twitter. Oh, can you do it in Twitter or not anymore? I'm not sure Twitter is worse or better than it used to be. I don't know. Or they're going to do the same. It looks like ribbis. Maybe. It's a question. It's a question Rav Kahana is posing to Rav. It's a question. Listen to the answer. Now we have to, I don't think I'll use the whiteboard because I don't think it's necessary. We'll just have to get it nice and slow. Omerle, listen to Rav's unique answer. Depends, says Rav, on how it was done, the sale. Again, remember the story. Let's just revise the story. Rav Kahana bought 400 shekels worth of kitna. Okay, true. Where are the kitna? In the storage room of Reuven. The kitna went and boomed, and inflation, now the kitna is worth how much? 800. Went to Reuven and sold it to who? To, of course, Shimon. Sold it to Shimon for 800. Shimon gave 800 shekels to Reuven, the seller. And now Reuven says to Rav Kahana, look, I made 400 shekels extra for you. Say thank you. Take your 800 shekels. I love RavKahana.com. All very nice. Says Rav, depends how it was done. Listen carefully. Iki kazabni amri haikitna dekanahu. If when your too eager agent Reuven, when he told them, I'm selling you the kutna that belongs to Rav Kahana, then zil shkol, then you can take it. If they knew, if Shimon, the buyer of the kitna, knew that he's buying something that belongs to you, then it's okay. Then it's okay, and you can take the money, and it's not ribbis. Don't ask me why. There are no questions at all till the Mishnah. This is North Korea. The Eloi loy tishkol. But if they did not know that the kitna belongs to Rav Kahana, if they thought they are buying something that belongs to Reuven, the seller, well, it was not really Reuven's, then you cannot take it. What does one have to do the other? Everything will be beautifully explained. Bezos Hashem. No, not in the Gemara. Look at me now, not in the Gemara. Say the Rishonim like this. Everybody knows, yeah? Let's start with a very, very basic premise like this. If I gave Yitzchak 400 and somehow got back 800, even though it's not real ribbis, it's to do with inflation and fluctuation, papapation, Lamaisa, I gave 4 cash and I got back 8 cash from the same dear Yitzchak, my friend, doesn't smell nice. Ribbis is so terrible, anything that looks like ribbis, not nice, right? I don't think you'd come here to Koilel with a bag that says McDonald's and something that looks like cheeseburger. It's really, it smells like it, not like the soya, and give it. I don't think that would be so nice. It doesn't look nicht kasheine zach. Yeah. However, if I gave Yitzchak 400, whichever circumstances, Shlomo, and then I got from Shlomo 800, that doesn't look like ribbis. Giving 400 to X and getting 800 from Y is nothing. That's the key to the entire sugya. Says Rav brilliantly. Says Rav like this. If the customers realized, let's start the wrong way. If the customers actually, when they bought it, and we follow Bnei Ma'aravo, that what goes in the mind of the customer makes a difference. Customer is not always right. Customer has to be aware. If the customers thought that this belongs to who? To the Reuven, the keeper, well, it's not,
and they say, we are giving Reuven money, and their thought makes a difference. So that 800 that they gave belongs to who? To the Reuven. Because although Reuven is an agent for Rav Kahana, they don't know it, they shoot the messenger. They only know what's closest to them. So now, if the money, the 800 really, that was put in the hand of Reuven, the agent, the not so good agent, belongs to Reuven, that looks like ribbis. Rav Kahana gave him 4 to Reuven and got from Reuven 800. That doesn't look nice. However, if at the time of the sale, they were aware that this belongs to Rav Kahana, and they said, oh, Rav Kahana, we are now giving the 800 shekels to the long arm of Rav Kahana, because Reuven is Rav Kahana's agent, then there's no problem. Why? He gave 400 to who? To Reuven. He gets 800 from Shimon. That's okay. So that would have been beautiful, and the same concept is going to stay till the end. However, the Gemara is a certain point it's unhappy with, and we are only going to ask questions when we get to the mission. That's beautiful. Correct the Gemara, Kiman. Who does that logic follow? Kibnei Ma'arava. As I already told you, I did the work for you. You believe Bnei Ma'arava. The Amri, what did they say? Right? In other words, they say, even when I sent you to the store to buy wheat and you bought wheat, yeah, the seller has to know that you are my messenger. If not, then it belongs to the shliach and not to the original person. But still, even if you say that, I have an issue with what you say. Atu, at the end of the day, Miyai Rav Kahana Arba, the Shokil Timni, did Rav Kahana give 4 and got 8? No. Kitna Mimelu Dayakar, a bit like Ellen was saying, the kitna went up in price anyways. Now, when did they sell the kitna? When did Reuven sell the kitna? Reuven, the too eager, self-employed agent, he sold it and was at its peak, 800. You know what the agent did when he sold it against the will of Rav Kahana? Let's not use politically correct language. He's a thief. Says the Gemara, Migzal Gazluha. At that point, when it was in the storage room kept for who on earth? For who? Rav Kahana. They took it out of the storage room and sold it against his will or without his knowledge. They are just, excuse me, thieves. Betnan, we learned to the Mishnah, oh, the fact that they transferred it to the hands of Shimon, they are just gazlonim. And the rule is a gazlan always has to pay like the time, the value when he stole it, right? In other words, let's say a guy came chas v'shalom to my house, chalila, and stole the silver candlesticks, 2,000 shekels worth. He has to pay me how much? 2,000. Yesterday it was worth 1,500 because the price of silver went up. So what? At the point of theft, that's when you have to do. Which means, let me explain the deeper layer. We're focusing on Shimon the buyer, and we say Shimon thought this, Shimon thought that. That's all very nice, but it's a legal sale. When you're in the nice world of nice business, white collar and good, then you can say, listen, let's follow Bnei Ma'arava, and depends how the koine, the buyer felt, and buying it from Rav Kahana, buying from him. This is just, this is crime world. This is Gezela. Gezela means that at the point of Gezela, which was 800, they, Reuven and his friends, who are basically thieves, have to pay him back 800, and that's it. And therefore, it's never called ribbis. It's never ever called ribbis because the sale was not a legal sale. You can say they meant this, they meant that. It's just a theft. In other words, even if you would throw it to the garbage, the gazlan, without selling it, he would have taken it as Mashiach, I want to steal, and threw it to the ocean. Same thing. He just has to pay him the 800 as a gun of stealing. So the whole Mechira business never started. So don't talk to me about Bnei Ma'arava and the thought that Shimon the buyer had in mind. Irrelevant. Therefore, so what did Rav mean? Why did Rav say that it depends on the mind of the buyer if he means to give it straight to Rav Kahana or he means to go through the agent? Answers the Gemara, the story was different. Amri, they explained, Hossam over there, the story was different. Amana Havoi. Amana means trust and credit. Rav Kahana was very, very trusting, such a big tzaddik. You know what he did? Veloy mashche Rav Kahana lekitna. Rav Kahana did not pull the kitna, which means Rav Kahana did not yet buy it. I'll tell you exactly what happened. Rav Kahana gave 400 credit. He paid a very large down payment, not down payment, all payment in advance. He thought these are nice people. And he gave 400 shekels. And he said to them, I'm not yet buying it. Please keep it for me. I will do the kinyan. So when it was in their storage room, it did not yet belong to Rav Kahana. Therefore, it's not called theft. The fact they sold it to someone else means they're not nice people. They broke the trust, but they're not thieves. Yeah, if you say to a guy in the store, hey, mister, I want that item on the wall over that's very nice, clock something, and I'm giving you now 400, keep it for me. And he sold it to someone else, and he gives you money afterwards. Not a nice guy, not shidduch for my daughter. He gets all kinds of curses, stories, the mishapora, seriously. But he's not a ganav, because the item itself doesn't yet belong to me. That makes a heck of a difference. So now we say like this. Rav Khan originally gave money. It's kept for him potentially, but not yet his. Not yet his. No theft mamish. Now they're selling it, and they think they're being very nice. They sell it to someone else, and they say, look, Rav Kahana, right, I promised you the kitna. Oh, instead of kitna 400, I'm giving you now cash of 800. Ain't that a nice guy? Says the Gemara, depends. You may or may not be nice. Continues the Gemara. The Rav l'taimei. Rav follows his own reasoning in a different place in Bava Metzia. The Rav says, Oisin amona bepeiros, ve'enoisin amona bedomim. I'll explain as follows, and then we'll explain our story. Bezos Hashem, everything will be clear. Oisin amona bepeiros means as follows. I go to the store, let's say even wholesaler, and I say, sell me a bushel of apples for, I don't know how much is a bushel. So I'm saying it to sound as different from American. I have no idea what a bushel is. It doesn't make a difference. How much is a bushel? A lot, a few kilos, whatever. A bushel for 300 shekels. I'm sorry if I'm non-realistic. Yeah. So now, please, you don't have any apples yet in your store. I'm telling you, look, I'm giving you now 300 shekels for one bushel of apples. Okay. Now the apples went up in price. Okay. But I told you, listen, ani sagarti itcha al mechir, which means I closed sort of price with you. I'm now paying 300 for, I don't know, a bushel of apples. And even if it will go up in price, you still give me the same thing. You will not ask for more money later. We closed on a price, okay? That's not ribbis Ellen Rubinstein. And chinami, if he gives me later a bushel of apples that's worth 1,000, wow, still okay. That's not called ribbis. It went up in price. However, let's say I gave him 300 shekels and I said, however much it's going to cost, we closed on 300 per bushel. And then, you know what it did? The bushel became 1,000. And instead of the apples, I said, you know what, Mr. Greengrocer, instead of the 1,000 shekels apples, how can I eat so many apples? Give me 1,000 shekels cash. That looks like it. If I gave him 300 for the apples, and the apples went up, Apple, Macintosh, Apple, Windows, the apple became 1,000 shekels, yeah? And instead of apples and getting the cash instead, I'm stuck for cash more than for apples. That looks like ribbis and it's forbidden, right? Because I came to the store giving 300 and I got out of the store later with 1,000 cash, nicht kashen. What does it have to do with us? Now everything will be summarized. Ezras Hashem beautiful. Now everything will be explained. Rav Kahana came to the store. One sunny day came Rav Kahana to Mr. Dubious Kitna owner. He gave him how much? 400 shekels. Very nice. 400 shekels for the Kitna. The Kitna does not yet belong to him. Now the Kitna went up in price 800. The guy thought he's very diligent and very, macher. And what did he do? Reuven, the guy who still owns it, but promised it to who? To Rav Kahana, who paid in advance. Now it's worth 800 and he sells it to the other people, to Shimon. Oh, says Rav, depends. If those people have in mind that they are interested in paying Rav Kahana, they're aware that the agent is working ki'ilu for Rav Kahana, and they say, Kahana Chai. They're giving really to Rav Kahana, and they're aware of it, then it's okay. He gave 400 to who? He gave 400 to Reuven and got 800 from Shimon. Shimon directly gave it to Rav Kahana. No problem. Doesn't even look like ribbis. I gave money to Yitzchok, and Sama, there was interaction between you, and it got cash from Shlomo, 800. Excellent. Mashe'en ken, if they were unaware, and they thought Shimon the buyer who bought from Reuven thought that Reuven is the only game in town, and really is giving to Reuven. So this money really does belong to Reuven, because we believe in Bnei Ma'arava. because the thought of those people does make a difference because it's not a theft. So now they gave money to who? To Reuven. Stink, not good. Because Rav Kana gave Reuven how much? 400. And he got from Reuven 800. Because the 800 given from Shimon to Reuven, Shimon thought are really Reuven's, and they are. Mimela, if I gave Reuven 400 and got from Reuven 800, it's not real ribbis, the Raisa, but doesn't schmeck nice. And therefore, the ribbis the Rabbanon, Mechzik ribbis or the Rabbanon, either or. And therefore, this is also, that's the end of story. And more than open, we now moved abruptly from North Korea to California. And ask all your questions and share your feelings with me. Yeah, weiter. New Mishnah. Before the new Mishnah, let's just give a small and important introduction. As usual, if you listen well to introduction, then a lot of things later, a stitch in time saves 9. In Vayikra, this is very cool. I would call it the rule of 5. In the 5th parak of Leviticus, I think Leviticus is called Vayikra by some strange people. Yeah. In the 5th parak of Vayikra, we have what? We have, not a story, we have a case in the Torah, halacha, if a person did one of 5 things. Either he stole, or he found someone else's lost object of Veda and he kept it to himself, and or he kept his salary and does not give him salary that he deserves. Okay, and that's the 3rd case. Or he and sure. Or he borrowed money, or he has a deposit of someone. 5 ways in which, let's say, I have Yosef's money in my pocket because of 1 of 5 reasons. Comes Yosef to me and says, Akiva, do you have my money? And I say, no, I lie. Yeah, I lie outright and I say, I don't have. And then he says, I'll take you to BSD, and in different mechanisms, sometimes it can make me take a shvua. And sadly, the Yetzer Hara got the better of me, and I was nishba l'sheker. Wow, and the entire world is shaking when this is happening. And I swore it was 1,000 shekels. Okay, 1,000 shekels either I found, or you lent me, or you deposited, or whatever. And I say, I have no idea about 1,000 shekels. And then afterwards, at some point, I myself admitted, with big tears, focusing on on the cameras on my face, I'm all teary-eyed, and I say, I stole it, and I lied to you, and I was nishba l'sheker. What am I supposed to do now to atone for my sin? I have to return the 1,000. I also have to return chomish. Chomish is the 5th. The question is not because of my bad math. There's a question how to calculate the 5th. Milagav, milabar. We discussed it. Let's say it's a regular 5th, or it's 200, right? The 5th of 1,000 is 200. Oh, you see, I'm such a genius. So now, what? I'm a math professor from Harvard. So then, even more, I teach the professors at Harvard. So then, David doesn't know my knowledge of math is beyond normal. It's you have no idea. You have no idea. Everyone else thinks I'm wrong in math because I'm so good. That's why. Because that's why everyone else are wrong. I'm right. So the kids are. I have to give back to Yosef 1,000 original plus 200 called chomish. Chomish is the knas of the Torah, 5th of the original. Plus, I have to go to the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, and bring a korban osham, chomish, the osham. The original called keren. I don't want to translate 10 times everything, okay? Keren is a principle. Keren means the original money that I stole, 1,000, let's say. Chomish is the extra 5th, yeah, which I have to give if I swore, the sheker. And I have to give an osham to Beis HaMikdash. That's a very, very basic halacha, okay? With that, we're going to fly through. Says the Mishnah. The person who stole from his friend something even worth 1 pruta, which is not much, it's even less than 1 shekel. Pruta is always the minimum shiur for money. Plus the kazais is usually, for most things, kazais is the minimum amount for foods, for most, although not all things. Pruta is the minimum. I stole 8 agorot. Thank you. He goes here, our colleague over here, goes to very choshev SHiur choshev mishpat. 8 agorot is not much. So I stole something from someone worth 8 agorot, a few drops of the shampoo in the mikveh. I stole shove pruta, v'nish baloi, and I made a shvua. Why did I make a shvua? Well, there are two options. I don't want to get involved here. And let's say I was nishba even without BSD. I initiated it and I said, Nishbalecha, I swear with the name of Hashem, I swear to you that I didn't steal, and I knew full well that I'm lying. And then I admitted that I'm wrong. Now I owe you 1,000 or a pruta and a fifth, or whatever and a fifth. Yolichenu achrav afilu lamodai. I have to follow you. You went to Thailand on a trip, and you actually decided to stay there for the next 2 years. Who is you, the victim? I have to actually fly to Thailand in order and buy, I don't know, $1,000 ticket, I don't know how much, in order to give you back the 1 shekel or the 10 agorot and the fifth. Wow. I have to take all lichoira, even if it's more expensive. I'm not saying that's for sure the truth, as we see later, but conceptually, I have to take it to Modai, as opposed to what Modai means. That's a country which was far away, like Paris to Modai, I guess was further than Persia. Back then it was like the end of the world, I guess. I had to go very far, as opposed to what? Lo yiten lo libnoi v'lo l'shluchoi. That's a chiddush. Let's say your son lives in Israel, in Ramat Bet Shemesh, and I'll say, okay, you veered off to Thailand for the rest of your life to retire, but your son lives in Nachal, Nachlieli, and I'll give it to your son, and maybe that's good enough. Or to your shliach. Didn't we learn about shliach all the time? Maybe we can decide by WhatsApp, I'll WhatsApp you to Thailand that Mr. Peretz over here will be a shliach to accept the money for you. I'll put it in the hands of Peretz, and Peretz will eventually take it to you to Thailand. Does not work. Wow. To give it to a shliach does not work, because there's a special pasuk we'll see in the Gemara that says, although usually shlichus works, if the person, the victim, decided the Peretz will be his long arm and will be his, proxy for everything, when it comes to stealing, not regular stealing plus shvuas sheker, which is really, really bad, the Torah is being more machmir. And if I gave it to Peretz, now, if Peretz flew to Thailand and gave it to his hands in the synagogue in Bangkok, very nice. But let's say Peretz lost it in the middle of the way, then I, the Gazlan, was not yoitzer. Get what I'm saying? The fact that it's in the hands of Peretz does not yet absolve me. He's not a halachic shliach. I have to make sure that either I fly to Thailand or to give it to the hands of the next person going to Thailand, but only when it will actually reach the hands of the victim in Thailand. Only then, I can sigh a sigh of relief and say, now I'm okay with that. As opposed to regular shlichim, which means, let me just explain this I know you know, but I want to make it sharper. A person wants to be, again, divorce a woman. Yeah. So now she's in Borough Park and he's in Bnei Brak. She sends a shliach from Borough Park, JFK to TLV, and what? And now the shliach is here next to him. The guy gave the get to the hands of the shliach. At that very second, is she married or divorced? Once her shliach got the get, divorced. Of course, that's all about the shlichus. He doesn't have to fly back to JFK in Borough Park. No, he can if he wants to. Why? That's her long arm. Here we don't say that. When the guy lied, the sheker with Shvu Hashem, we say, honey, we're not being so nice to you, okay? And therefore, there's no shlichus anymore. And if I gave it to Peretz, and Peretz says, I'm a shliach of the guy who lives in Thailand that was stolen from, it doesn't work. If you fly to Thailand and actually give it his own hands, of course, no problem. But as long as I don't know that it came from your hands to his hands, just because it's in your hands as shliach, shlichus does not function over here. By the way, maybe there are other reasons. I'm quite new in the sugya, but this is what seems to be now. If it's not urgent, I prefer to continue a little bit and then I'll hear. What is it, Derek? With? Yes, to be continued. You're begging to continue the Mishnah. Your question is so good that the Mishnah is going to talk about it. However, there's a ray of hope to the Gazlan. Beis Din established a system called Shliach Beis Din, which means special person nominated by Beis Din. And now, if the ticket to Thailand costs more than the theft, I stole 1,000 from Yosef, and a ticket to Thailand cost, 5,000. So for me to spend 5,000 in order to give 1,000 doesn't make sense. In certain cases, and that's going to be a whole sugya. I'm walking on eggshells here because there are many explanations to this takana, but Begadol, when it's really not kedai to the thief to spend so much money to give back 1 shekel to fly to Thailand, then he can give it to a special shliach by BSD. BSD keeps it, and then there's a machlokes how exactly that works, but that solves the problem. I'm not telling you how it works because the Gemara is going to discuss it. But Lamaisa, that shliach, either we expect the guy eventually to come back to Israel and take it to BSD. BSD is like a third party. Let's say, to just make it generally okay, it's like an escrow, okay? Like an escrow account kind of thing. Exactly how it works tomorrow. We're just reading the Mishnah now to get into the general idea. The imes, let's say the victim, the one stolen from, died. Yachzir liyoshov. What's Yachzir liyoshov? The Ganev, have to give it to the Yorshim of the victim. What's the Chiddush? Even if they're in Thailand. The guy died. His children went on a nice trip to Thailand after the army, as all the Israelis do. And now they're in Thailand for 5 years. I have to go and chase his children, even at the end of the world, to give back the money. Now the Mishnah is going to talk about what you said, and we're going to finish soon. Beautiful. Let's say I paid you the 1,000 shekels, and then you flew to Thailand, but the choimesh, the extra fifth, let's say the 200, I didn't yet give you. Or let's say the guy said, you know what, 1,000 shekels, I'm a gentleman, I moichel you, but the choimesh I'm not. Because the choimesh was because of your dirty lie. You stole from me, I can forgive you. You needed to buy bread for your family. But the lie with shvua, I don't forgive that. And therefore the 1,000 I forgive, and the 200 I don't. It's a principle by me. Let's say that was the case. Or, in both cases, the guy basically does not, for one reason or another, does not own the keren, the keren, but owes the choimesh. Let's say that was the case. Or, mochaloi alzeh, chutz mipochash vepruta bekeren. Let's say he was moichel, both keren and choimesh, but he said 7 agorot, I'm not moichel. Stam, a principled guy. Let's say, less shvepruta, ein a tzarch leilech, which means if all I owe him is just the choimesh, or needless to say, less than shvepruta, if I only owe him choimesh, for the choimesh alone, he does not have to go to Modai. Although the chiyuv to go to Modai is the person who's nishbel sheker, that's only when he owes keren and choimesh. But if the keren is dealt with, either he paid or he forgave him, and he only owes him the choimesh, the choimesh alone, you don't have to run away to Madai, and shlichus should be good enough. Yeah, you can give it to the shliach over here, that should be good enough. The extra chumrah of not using shliach and having to physically go to the end of the world, that only applies with the keren, not with the choimesh. Thank you very much. Middle of the Mishnah. Okay, Imrat Hashem, hopefully tomorrow we'll get a better picture of this. Thank you very much.